So speaking of investing in this kind of tools and understanding, Sal, this year you launched an experimental artificial intelligence guide that mimics a writing coach or tutor to help students learn in school. What are some of the highlights of that, and what are some of the challenges you've seen with that program?
Yeah, and I'll add to that, it could be a tutor, a writing coach, but also on the teacher side, it can act as a teaching assistant, develop lesson plans, rubrics, even eventually help assess papers and things like that. Uh, when we went into this, we were initially a little bit cautious. We started partnering with OpenAI over almost exactly a year ago, so well before ChatGPT came out, and this was when GPT-4 was on its way when it was coming. And I was skeptical at first. I had paid attention to GPT-2 and 3, and they were impressive, but they didn't have a good handle on knowledge, hallucinate a lot of facts, etc. Obviously, everyone knows when ChatGPT came out, which is based on GPT 3.5, as impressive as it was and is, it still had a problem with hallucinations. It still had a problem with math errors. When we saw GPT-4, it still had some of those issues. They had been a lot. It was mitigated to a large degree. But what really impressed us is GPT-4's ability to be steerable, so to speak, and be able to take on these personas of a tutor or a teaching assistant or a writing coach and do it based on some of the best practices out there. So that's when we started working pretty hard at it. Uh, when ChatGPT came out, at first I thought it was a little bit of a bummer. I was like, well, this thing is so imperfect. It wasn't designed for education. The main headlines everyone's seeing is kids are using it for cheating. School systems are banning it. And I was afraid that the baby was going to get thrown out with the bathwater. But when we launched Khanmigo, and we did it coincident when OpenAI released GPT-4 in March, it was actually a blessing that ChatGPT was out there because people were struggling with it already. They saw the power of this tool. They knew it was going to be in the workplace, but kids were using it to write their essays. They were using it to do their homework. And so we were now able to offer something that was special purpose built for education, put some guardrails around it. All of the conversations are accessible by parents or teachers. Second AI monitors the conversations and then can actively notify parents or teachers if something's going on. We've invested a ton above and beyond the GPT-4 layer to make sure that the hallucinations are as low as possible, and that the math is as good as possible. And that's been a pretty interesting journey. But we now have been testing it for about 4 months in mainstream schools, and the feedback has been honestly better than I expected. Teachers are saying, "Hey, that's been able to answer questions that my students were even afraid to ask me." But I didn't even if they did, I wouldn't have had the bandwidth to get to all of those students. We're having teachers say, I spend 10, 15, 20 hours a week doing things like writing lesson plans, grading papers. This is already dramatically reducing that. And it's not in any way minimizing the value of a teacher. What we're seeing is if you can create alongside, just as if you have a great teaching assistant who's creative, that doesn't make your creativity any less important. When you are able to riff with another creative party, when you're able to create together, you actually create something even better. It actually makes both parties more creative. We're seeing that happen in the classroom where already amazing teachers who would make these great lesson plans, when they're able to riff with Khanmigo around, hey, how can I make this lesson hook even better? Or how can I improve this rubric? It's energizing them and it's saving them time at the same time. So we're pretty excited. We're working on now ways that you mentioned writing coach, where a teacher can develop assignments and rubrics with the AI, with Khanmigo, assign it through Khanmigo. Students can do the writing assignment with the AI, not having the AI do it for it. And then the important element is that the AI can report back to the teacher and say, hey, look, I've been working with Sal on this. He's struggling. Michael is finished his outline, but he still hasn't gotten quite this far yet. And Mary just copy and pasted something in here. That looks a little bit shady. She might have used ChatGPT for that. You might want to talk to Mary about that. So we actually think not only will it be able to mitigate the risks of cheating, we think it could actually supercharge kids' ability to write more, get more feedback, and give more information to teachers.